Hello, fellow commanders, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous Return from Beagle Point. We are continuing on our way to the bubble, having already made our way out to Beagle Point. For those of you who are new, the purpose of the journey has been to increase our exobiology rank to the elite status, as well as make enough money to hopefully buy a fleet carrier to bring back out into the black and kind of have a mobile traveling base as we go. The topic of today's discussion is going to be living in the world as an impatient person, as I am very much an impatient person, which is appropriate for today's episode because today's going to be a travel day. I don't feel like stopping for this episode. I just kind of want to get some distance down today, so we're going to keep going. I know there were a couple of other planets from the last episode that we could have scanned and spent some more time, but I kind of just want to get some distance down today. So, yeah. And I'm going to be taking the most efficient way of doing it by just fuel scooping quickly, moving on to the next system, and fuel scooping as quick as possible, and then moving on to the next system. So there's going to be a lot of just moving and jumping and moving and jumping. So yeah, impatience. I have had so much stress in my life caused by my own impatience, and I have to say it's not exactly one of the things that I'm proud of, but it is one of the things that I acknowledge about myself. I don't know that there's a really good way to remove impatience from you if you're the kind of person that is like that. I think part of it is probably genetic. Some people just are much more... some people have a lot more anxiety than others, and I imagine I probably fall into that category. But a lot of it also just comes from your upbringing. If you lived in a situation where you were able to get what you wanted relatively most of the time, and then you grow up and become an adult, and things are a lot harder to come by because nobody's going out of their way to help you get anything, then you start getting impatient to try to get the things that you want. I wish I could say that this episode was going to be me trying to provide you with solutions to get over your own impatience, but the reality is that after 4 decades of life, I haven't figured it out myself. So I've learned. I can give you some tips to learn to live with your impatience. I don't know any good ways to help you remove impatience from your makeup. I don't think that's something that's possible to do. If you're the kind of person who has developed a tendency to be impatient, I think that's probably going to be something you live with for your entire life. But there are things you can do to learn how to live with it, and maybe make it less of a big deal for the people around you. So first and foremost, it's like everything in your life, the first thing you have to do is admit that you have a problem. A lot of impatient people don't realize that they are impatient. They struggle with recognizing the fact that there's a difference between being demanding and requiring high standards and being impatient. And a lot of times people who are just patently impatient people confuse their own desire to have things done in an expeditious manner as being, just demanding. I'm not impatient, I'm just demanding. We need these things done, and we need them done quickly. We don't need to be wasting time doing this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, well, but you're also just being impatient, because if it's something that doesn't need to be done right now, but you're trying to force it to happen right now, well, obviously that's impatience, not just needing to get things done. Americans in general are really bad about being impatient about things, and it's reflected in the work culture that we have here. We have this saying in America: don't put off until tomorrow what could be done today. And I think that has contributed to a lot of the stress-related problems that we have here in this part of the world, because we push ourselves to do things more than we really need to. A lot of people struggle with deadlines, but not in that they, can't meet the deadlines, but that they feel like they need to beat the deadline. It's not good enough to get the work done and then turn it in when it's ready to go. No, I got to hurry up and get it done because I need to impress people. Impatience can show itself in many different ways, and not all of them are, super self-serving, selfishness kind of things. Impatience in the workplace is still a bad thing, but at least it doesn't come from a place of I want it now because, me. But me personally, I know that my impatience specifically comes from a very selfish place because, I like to have things the way I want them, and I want them that way as quickly as they can be. And when you're younger, you don't realize that's how you're being, and the older you get, assuming you're the kind of person who does a little bit of self-reflection, you get to the point where you start recognizing that that's how you behave. So, as I said, the first thing you have to do to fix the problem. There is no fixing the problem. The first thing you have to do to start learning to live with it and, actually care that you're bothering people with it is to just recognize that you are an impatient person, and recognize that that aspect of yourself is not necessarily a positive thing. It can be in very specific circumstances, but for the most part, impatience is not a good way to go about doing pretty much anything. Even in the business world, as I was saying a minute ago, even in the business world, impatience almost always leads to some kind of problem, whether it's mistakes being made because you're rushing through your work, or stress being imparted on the people around you because you think that what you're doing is so important that it absolutely must take priority. Even if you're the boss, impatience can really be something that's a very bad thing, not just for the quality of the work that gets done, but just the morale of the people around you, the people working for you, all of those kinds of things. So it's very, very rare that impatience becomes something that actually provides anything of benefit. So recognizing that everybody has a little bit of impatience at the very least. We all have some level of impatience. So figuring out where you fall on that spectrum can go a long way to helping you figure out how to live in a world with that impatience and not turn it into something that's toxic to the people around you. Now, for people like me who are on the very unreasonable end of impatience, I've had to spend a lot of time training myself to take that feeling and stuff it down and not allow it to become something that blows up in somebody's face. I don't have a lot of patience for dealing with other people's wants and desires and needs and all of that other stuff, which is funny because I'm a father and a husband and all of those things, and those things are specifically counter to being the kind of person who has no patience for anything except for the things that I would like to be doing. I think that for the most part, everybody is like that, but some of us take it to a degree that's really unhealthy. And I definitely fall on that end of the spectrum. I don't have any patience for anybody else's stuff. I have to force myself to do things that are for or involve other people. And it's kind of hard to go through life that way because it creates an antisocial situation where you're not really able to function in a normal social setting because you're struggling to just be there and actually be there in a positive way, not constantly be checking the time to see when the hell can I get out of here. And a lot of us really struggle with that. A lot of the times when you see people who are just trying to get away, it's partly because they're antisocial, but a lot of people just really struggle with, I don't want to be here doing this because it bores the hell out of me and I don't want to do it. And they're impatient to get back to whatever it is that engages them, that makes them feel like they're spending their time in a way that is engaging for them. So, one of the things that is really hard to do is starting to practice being aware of when that feeling is starting to come up, and then forcing yourself to I don't want to say shove it aside, because I guess that's kind of what you're doing, but it's kind of one of those things of shifting your own focus to being more involved in whatever it is that you're doing at the time. Like, let's say you want to be home playing a video game or whatever it is that you're trying to do, but you're obligated to be out doing something else with your family or your friends or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're sitting there just wishing you could go home and do whatever you want to be doing, that's the time where you really need to stop yourself for a second, look around, and like try to immerse yourself in whatever it is that you're doing, because half of getting over your own impatience is just taking your mind off of whatever it is you're impatient to get to, because impatience is always related to I want something. I want something, I want to be doing something, I want to acquire something. It's a desire that you have that is unmet and you need it to be met, or you feel like it feels like you need it to be met and it needs to be met right now. And so, taking a second to shift your focus away from this thing that you've decided that is so important that you have to focus all of your attention on it, and allowing yourself to split your attention away from that enough to start focusing on what it is that you're doing in the moment can help you that impatient feeling subside, because now you're forcing yourself to engage with whatever it is that you're doing. That's not going to get rid of it. There's no real way to get rid of the feeling. It's always going to be there in the back of your head, but you can reduce the severity of it by just kind of focusing, really like forcing yourself to focus on whatever it is that you're involved in at the moment. So, recognizing that you have a problem is the first step, because you can't get to step 2 until you understand that, hey, I do have this problem. This is something I do need to start working on, because, I care about the people in my life, and I want to make sure that they know that. But then once you realize that and you start thinking about it in the situation, like once you start feeling that feeling of, oh my God, is this ever going to be over? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Then you start thinking about, all right, I'm starting to feel really impatient. I really want to get back to what I'm doing, and this right now is the time where I need to start forcing myself to think about, my problem that I have, and really starting to. I need to lean into whatever it is I'm doing, regardless of how much you hate it or don't or like it or whatever it is. Just leaning into it so that you can divide your attention, because a lot of the impatience is how much we fixate on this thing that we want. It's focusing our attention on this thing that we feel like we need, we want, we desire it. It needs to be now. And once you simply putting your attention, trying to focus your attention on this other thing, splits that in half immediately, because now you're having to put a bunch of effort, a bunch of mental effort and focus and attention on the thing that you're doing now, which takes a lot of your attention off of whatever it is that you're trying to get to. So that's something else that you can do there we go. Something else that you can do. Let's go ahead and get there we go. 151 light years. What was I saying? I got distracted by having to do a neutron star. I didn't even see what kind of star it was next. Newton's Vault. That sounds like another neutron star. Let's see what color it is. Okay, no, it's a regular star. I got somebody walking outside my window now. And they're going to stand there. Of course they are. Makes it very difficult to try to talk when there's somebody standing right outside your window. Alright, they walked away. Okay, so what was I saying? Focusing on whatever it is that you're doing in the moment. So just by splitting your attention between the thing that you want to be doing and the thing that you're doing right now, you're going to drastically reduce that negative anxiety feeling that you have inside of you, because now you're not just solely focused on this thing that you want to be doing that you're not doing. You're going to be allocating some of your mental resources into this thing that you're doing right now, and by that very nature it pulls away some of that anxiousness and that need to move on to this thing that you're going to be doing, because now you're actually paying attention to what it is that you're doing in the moment. And then, so, that's something that you can do in the moment, but that's also kind of a reactive thing, and not necessarily the 100% best way to deal with it. And I find personally that the more I am able to schedule those kinds of things into my life, and the more mental preparation I can have before I'm going to be involved in those things, the better off I'm going to be at implementing this splitting of my desires, or splitting of my mental resources, because I personally find that I become the most frustrated when there's a last minute thing that comes up and all of a sudden I had plans to do something else and now I have to abandon those plans to go do this other thing because it needs to get done or whatever it is that you're doing. So the more you can kind of find these things before they're even a thing and... Oh, hold on. Let's get ourselves turned back towards the cone and finish getting... There we go. Get ourselves turned towards the thing. The more you can schedule these things into your life and give yourself time to, you know, because a lot of it is just accepting that you're going to be in this whatever situation it is that takes you away from whatever it is that you would prefer to be doing. So acceptance is one of those things that just makes selfishness much easier to put aside, because once you have accepted the fact that, okay, I have this block of time that I'm going to be doing something I don't want to be doing, but you know it's important and it needs to be done, you're able to kind of quash that feeling, because there's something weird about the brain that makes it to where when you're able to kind of compartmentalize something into a, you know, this is what we got to do now situation, it's much easier to set aside that feeling of impatience and just be like, well, you know what, I'm stuck doing whatever it is, whatever this is for this period of time, and I know that's what it's going to be. Now that becomes very difficult to do when last minute things come up, and I know me personally, I get really frustrated when people ask me for things at the last minute, because you know, I have my idea of what my day is going to look like, and then somebody comes along and asks me for something, and I get really frustrated by that. So I don't really have a technique for that because I haven't figured that out yet. But because that's one of those things where, you know, if you're like me and you struggle with impatience and you struggle with, you know, dealing with other people's stuff, there is no real good way to do that other than, I don't even know that you just kind of have to suck it up. Like, I've learned over the years to just suck it up. Sometimes you just got to put up with it. I will admit that I have a pretty bad attitude when that situation is. If I have time to prepare, if somebody lets me know, if I have several, especially preferably if I have several days to kind of just get myself ready for whatever it is, whatever this thing is that I have to do, I can actually be relatively positive and upbeat about it, because it's like, you know, it is what it is. I've accepted that this is what we're going to do, and you know, I can live with it. But when something happens and I'm asked at the last minute to handle something or do something, all right, come on, let me go. Asked at the last minute to handle something or do something or whatever it is, and especially if I had plans to do something else, it's super frustrating, and the feeling of impatience that I have when I end up having to go do things like that is nearly unbearable, if I'm perfectly honest with you. So, you know, I don't know what else to say about that particular aspect of it, other than you just have to understand that there's going to be situations where you're going to lose your temper, or you're going to lose your control, your composure, whatever word you want to use for how you handle your own impatience. That's just kind of the way that it is. But yeah, I don't know. I know that for me, obviously the older you get and the slower your body and all of that, the slower, like, as you get older, obviously your hormones and stuff calm down and you start becoming a little bit more chill. I mean, it's just a natural way that the human body works. So it becomes easier to deal with those things. And then aside from just the fact that your body starts slowing down, the years of mental, especially if you've been working on it for a while, the years of mental training of trying to make yourself a little bit more like the kind of person that you want to be, kind of changes your default nature just a little bit. Obviously, it's not going to change it. It's not going to completely change and take it all away, because that's just not how it works. One of the things that a lot of people, especially younger people, don't understand is that around the age of 25, your brain has fully developed, and and you have more or less become the person that you're going to be for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, parenting in the modern world, especially in America, just isn't. It doesn't provide us with the kind of tools that we need to develop those things before it's too late for these negative things that we deal with to become problems. So a lot of the reasons why we have a lot of mental health problems in Western culture today is because children aren't getting the kind of guidance that they really need early enough in their lives for it to actually make a difference. And then by the time somebody grows up and starts to realize that some of the things about them are problems, it's many, many times harder to fix because they've already developed as a person, and those things are ingrained into who they are as a person. And while they can technically be changed, the odds of permanently fixing something like that after you've already grown up into the person that you are it's very small. It's very, very small. There's this myth in culture that tries to tell us that people can change, and the reality of the situation is that outside of some kind of serious life-altering situation coming along and forcing you to change, the average person isn't capable of making a serious major change in their life. Now, is that an absolute 100% rule? No. Obviously, there's going to be edge cases of people who, decided they were going to change something about themselves, sat down, had the discipline to do it, and, whatever. Obviously, you can't ever make absolute statements like that. But for the most part, most people are going to be incapable of changing some kind of major character component about themselves once they've developed into the person that they're going to be. And that's just an unfortunate reality of the world and the way that what's the word I'm looking for? Of the human condition, and that's just the way that it works. And it sucks, especially if you grow up and you realize all of a sudden, oh man, there's this thing about me that I really hate. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't anything you can do about it. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm trying to imply. The point of my discussion here has been to, you're not going to change the impatience or whatever it is, whether it's impatience or whatever other negative thing that you're worried about. You're not going to remove that from yourself. It's part of you, and it's going to be there forever. You're not going to get rid of it. But you can implement controls into your life to help you mitigate it or deal with it or contain it or whatever word you want to use to make it so that you can function as a semi-normal person in whatever social situation you find yourself. So, each person is going to be different. I know that for me, and I think a lot of people could benefit from first being open to the idea that you have something seriously wrong with you, because realistically we all do. Everybody has something that's like seriously, majorly wrong that bothers the people around you, and it's probably something that you should fix. Understanding that fixing doesn't mean making it not something that's a part of you anymore, but just understanding that it's something that you need to learn to contain. Let's go ahead and take a second and see if there are any bodies that we can land on in this system. Actually, let me hop out of this and see if we identified anything already. Oh, okay. And is it close? 679 light seconds. I think we're going to go ahead and land on this planet because I've run out of things to talk. I've run out of things to talk about this specific subject. And we're getting towards the end of an episode anyway, so we got a fair number of jumps done during all of that. So we'll get over here, we'll scan this planet. Actually, I guess we can go ahead and do a full-on scan of the system since there's only 8 bodies. See if there's any biology here. It's unlikely, but if we're gonna land... Oh! Alright, so we'll land on that one instead, since it has at least a bacteria on it. There's one more.
System scan complete.
Alright, so we'll land on that one instead, because it has biology on it. And then we'll get going. So, yeah, I try to come up with some kind of topic to talk about, but a lot of the times I end up just kind of rambling on about something I have a vague, half-assed knowledge of, because I gotta fill the silence with something, and it's better to talk about something that you kind of know about than to just randomly expound on something that you don't know anything about. But we all have a limited range of things that we can talk about, or things that we know about enough to actually have a conversation about it. And so impatience is one of those things that I deal with. And as I said, it's going to be one of those things that I always deal with. Now, okay, well, here's another aspect. Here's another part of it that is kind of important that nobody likes to talk about, and it's the acceptance of others. You as a person, if you don't have a problem, but somebody in your life does have a problem, you have a responsibility there too, my friend. It isn't just on the person with the problem to fix themselves. It's on you to recognize that nobody's perfect and everybody has things that they deal with, and it's on you to learn to live with their problems if you're going to have them in your life. And too many of us, especially in modern culture, we have no patience. We have no patience for the idiosyncrasies of others, and we make life so much harder on the people that we supposedly care about because they are a certain way and we don't like it, and rather than trying to genuinely help them, we go out of our way to make their life difficult. And I've experienced that a lot, and that's super frustrating. I try not to do that to the other people in my life, but it's just one of those things where we all have a duty to be cognizant of the way we treat people, and too many of us don't. Too many of us don't pay attention to the way that we treat people because we're so self-involved in whatever it is, whatever problem we have. Whether it's something that you want from somebody, or if it's just these people in your life that you've decided are important, but apparently not important enough that you're willing to put up with their crap. We've lost I don't want to say we lost. I don't know that we ever had. One of the things that we as a society really need to get to is we've been trying for a very long time to get into this idea of unconditional love, but most people don't understand what that really means, because we associate love with this feeling, whether it's a brotherly love feeling or a romantic feeling or whatever feeling it is that you're trying to associate with, love with. But love is not a feeling. Affection is a feeling. Infatuation is a feeling. There's different feelings that you will have for somebody that you've chosen to love. But the reality is that love is a choice that we make. It's the choice to include somebody in your life in a way that makes them important to you. And, if you're going to choose to do that, then you need to choose to learn to live with the issues that they have, to accept that they have those issues, that they're going to have those issues, that they're probably always going to have those issues. And if they change them, they change them, but your relationship with them is not dependent on whether they're behaving in a way that you find acceptable. And that's one of the things that we as people struggle with, because we have an idea of what we want out of the relationships with the people around us, and too many of us are unwilling to set aside our perfect vision of what that should look like and learn to just understand that this person is how they are. They're always going to be that way, and if you're going to have this person in your life, you have to learn to live with it. So there's two sides to the dealing with personal negative things. It's not just the person who has a problem, it's everybody around them who needs to, they need to chill out a little bit too and understand that, sometimes the person that they're hanging out with, sometimes the people around them are going to do things and behave in a way that does not jive with what we want it to be. And that's okay, as long as, it's not, as long as it's not, the person isn't allowing it to become like seriously harmful or chronic and just refuses to even, acknowledge that it's a problem. Like, obviously the impatient person shouldn't just be given their way all the time. That's not what I'm advocating. What I'm saying is that too many people don't understand the idea that, people don't change, and sometimes we're going to make mistakes and we're going to lose control of our situations and whatever other ways you want to look at it. I think a lot of times people don't give enough credit for effort, and people don't give enough credit for, people trying to do things. And a lot of times the problem is that the people on the outside don't see the effort, especially for something like impatience, like the amount of effort that it takes to like sublimate your impatience That's not something that anybody will ever see. That's something that you have to do on the inside, and then, you know, the mild irritation that comes out is peanuts compared to the raging torrent within that you're holding back because you don't like whatever situation you're in, and you're having to force yourself to be present in it. And, you know, too many people don't understand that either. Okay, we have a bacteria here. All right, come on. Land, please. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and call that a video. Hopefully you had a lot of fun. Be sure to click the like button if you did, so that the YouTube algorithm will know and send the video out to as many people as possible. If you are not a subscriber, please consider subscribing now, so that when the next video comes out, it will show up in your feed and you'll be able to watch it as soon as it becomes available. Channel members get early access to all of my content, so be sure to click the join button, check out the list of options available there, decide if any of those are right for you. If you're not interested in a membership but would like to support the channel, there is YouTube's thanks button, which is sort of their version of a tip. Direct contributions are greatly appreciated and a critical component to helping to turn this channel into a full-time gig, which is the dream. So again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Be sure to come back for the next one, and I'll see you then.